I recently heard about one friend who betrayed their friend by trying to ruin something for that friend. So what they did was they somehow sent somebody to go to meet the spouse of their friend and say some things about their friend so that the spouse will doubt how how their spouse feels about them, how their friend feels about that spouse, and basically ruin something that they've been working towards for a very long time, in addition to ruining their marriage, of course. And everything all boils down to envy and the anger that they had been harboring towards their friend for a long time because of what their friend had. Apparently, they had wanted that spouse, but the spouse did not like them, and then the spouse liked their friend. And they had been harboring bitterness towards their friend for a very long time. And that was the time for them to enact it and to make sure that they ruined something for their friend. And if you can follow that, I applaud you. It just made me sad for that friend, that person. And at the same time, it's not all that surprising. It's shocking that people still do stuff like that, but it's not all that surprising. And it's not new. People have been doing this for a very long time and people still do it. And so, just thinking about that, I wanted to share a few reflections about friendships and especially we as neurodivergent people. From my experience, my personal experience, and from what I've heard from some others, we have a tendency to not know when people are being insincere with us because we tend to view people from based on the way we operate, and we operate sincerely with people. So automatically, it doesn't occur to us that some people can be that the same people were sincere towards can be insincere towards us in any way. And so even when they exhibit certain poor behaviors and they exhibit what's called red flags, we don't read those as red flags. We don't want to read them as red flags. And so it gives those people the opportunity to mistreat us and invalidate us and hurt us, maybe betray us. And I've heard of some situations where autistic people could get even killed by the people they consider friends. From my personal experience, some friends that I've had in the past, they have tortured me. They've used me at the bottom as the butt of their jokes. They've mocked me, not just in private, but also in public. And I can say with my full chest that they contributed to the trauma that I experienced. I remember this particular one friend that we lived together, we were roommates. I made it a point to do all those things that I mentioned earlier. And I remember that even when somebody would say maybe something positive about me, so they would call the attention to themselves and say, oh, they have more of that positive stuff than me. It's very funny when you think about it, but that's how some friends can be. And I would just smile, I would just laugh it off. Of course, there were some times when some things they would do would blatantly irritate me, and I would flare up in anger. And I realized that I was, yes, I was immature at the time, but I was also reacting to some of the things that they had done before that I had delayed emotional reactions to. And so sometimes when they would do certain things or they would say certain things that were disparaging, I would react in an explosive way. And then those explosive reactions would not be on par with whatever they might have done, at least in the sight of people. So people would look confused, like, okay, what did she say? What she said was actually very mild. So why would I react the way I reacted? Why would I, act frustrated and angry and all of that? But it was due to a compounded effect of the other things they had been doing to me before that I had not reacted to immediately. And whenever I think of bad friends, whenever I think of friends who are who are enemies, I think of that person. I think of that person as a prime example. It was a kind of abuse, to be honest. I cannot go into details, but what that friend did to me was a kind of abuse. It was a kind of systematic abuse for several months, close to a year that we spent together. And when we stopped being friends, it wasn't because I decided that I wasn't going to be friends with her. I did not throughout that time I did not have the wherewithal, I did not have the presence of mind to decide to know that I could choose who my friends were. I didn't operate from that angle. So I just kept being friends with her and hanging out with her. I was in school at the time and we had all the same classes. And so when we stopped being friends was because she withdrew from the school and went to a different school. So that was how God removed her from my life. And I've had other friends like that too who would say, when they'll be sarcastic towards you or they would say something negative about you, but they would wrap it up in positive things, positive words that only, like it would be a kind of a private joke, but I wouldn't know, so I would take it just at face value. And they would be having their fun. I would just see the smirk on their faces. I would see the smirk on their faces, and it would be like everybody else understands that joke, but me. But because I did not have anything concrete to go by, I did not have anything that would tell me, not actually mean what they're saying the opposite. And you're supposed to understand. I was the only one who was not privy to the joke. And they would say, and many of them had this in common. I don't know why a lot of people are like this. Many of them had, like, I would never do something like that where I would insult people, especially based on things that they have no control, a condition somebody has or a disorder or something. I would never say something like that to somebody to mock them or to make fun of them and then wrap it up in something, in a positive word, to make it seem as a, like, I would never do something like that. It's a demonic, it's an evil, it's a horrific thing to do to anybody. Saying something negative directly about someone is bad enough, but at least in that case, that person knows that they've been insulted and they can react the way they want to react. They can choose to either smile in response or to give it back to you if they choose. But at least you're giving them, you have the guts and you have the honesty to say it to their face and let them understand. But for you to say it in a way that it will take them time to understand and then everybody else understands the joke for them, that's just wrong. Like, it's inhumane. You're fucking with their mind at this point. Well, I don't know how I kept acquiring friends like that, which is why I keep saying that I think there's a link between having trauma, treating yourself a certain way, and the kinds of people you attract. Because those kinds of people you attract, well, you attract all kinds of people, but the kinds of people you eventually allow to stick around are the kinds of people who will continue treating you the way you've believed that you're meant to be treated, the way you're used to being treated, and the way you treat yourself. We don't usually know that it's okay for us to treat ourselves well. The people who treat us well, we don't allow them to our lives. We don't even believe them when they say positive things to us. We don't believe them when they treat us nicely. And it's what we're familiar with is the bad treatment, because that's what we've convinced ourselves that is right. And so those are the kinds of people that we're allowed to stick around. And on the other hand, I've had some other friends, like when I started learning to validate myself, the first time somebody else, like also outside of my family, it wasn't just like a one-time thing. It was like an ongoing thing. Like, this was her way of being. Like, you would say something, she would say, yes, I hear you, I see you, I understand what you're saying, I understand where you're coming from, etc. Like, she would say things like that. And I started learning. I did not even know that was what I was doing, but I started learning how to be validated. And that was how I started validating not just myself, but other people as well. And I appreciate that up till today. Like, that's one of the things I appreciate from that friend. Also, the other kind of friend I've mentioned before, who was emotionally present and who would. This friend taught me that it was okay for me to be nice to myself and to be nice to other people and to have friends that are nice to me. And once I tasted that, I could not go back. I could not go back to having friends that would be cruel to me. I just could not go back to that. I believe that a lot of the friends I have today that are like good, nice friends are like a blessing from God. I feel like God compensated me for all the horrific treatment I've had from friends by giving me the kinds of friends that I have today. And the effects compounds because when I started like appreciating and insisting on friends who would treat me nice and treating my friends nicely, then I started meeting more people who are naturally just nice and who naturally just treat people around them nicely and who naturally say positive things and who naturally choose to see the positives in people. I always talk about friendships because of my experience with them, and I know that friendships can make or break you, and they can help you get better when it comes to your mental health, or they can worsen your mental health. Matter of fact, if you didn't have mental health issues before, they can give you mental health issues in this world. All kinds of people are going to be drawn to you. But It's left to you to decide who stays and who goes. It's left to you to decide to be selective and to be deliberate about the people you hang around and the people who are your friends. And you just don't decide that somebody's going to be your friend and somebody's just going to be with you all the time simply because they just seem to be around all the time, simply because you work with them all the time, or you're in school so you guys have all the same classes, or you live together, or you live in the same neighborhood, whatever it is. Like that, those are not good enough reasons to choose friendships. You have to be more deliberate about friendships. You have to be critical about the people you let to be around you. Yes, sir. Good morning. I mean, having mental health issues already is one thing on its own. Having other people who draw you down so that those issues get even worse, and then you acquire more issues on top of the issues you already have, that's a no-no. And trust me, when the chips come down, when you have that emotional breakdown, when you have that whatever it is, they're not going to be around. Even if they're around, you won't be able to talk to them about it. Even if you were, they're the kinds of friends who would mock you for having a breakdown. They're the kinds of friends who would have you, who would mock you for having burnout. They're the kinds of friends who would say negative things to you about what you're experiencing. Okay? Like I heard about a guy who got groped by a person in authority, and that really affected him. And he started getting all these doubts about himself and started getting all these intrusive thoughts. And his friends, his so-called friends, would mock him and like, your orientation has shifted. He's probably experiencing HOCD, or he's probably just exhibiting the trauma from that traumatic event as a human, as a normal human being. But those kinds of friends will ruin you. They will they will just destroy your life if you're not careful. Like you can imagine, please pick your friends. Choose your friends wisely, and you don't have to have friends. Okay, you can be fine with acquaintances, because sometimes acquaintances will do you a whole load of good than some friends who just hate you and are harboring ill will towards you and you don't know. And the danger with that is that you think they're your friend, you're sincere with them, but they're not sincere with you. So when it's time, they will betray you without thinking twice. Matter of fact, those friends that you think are your friends are probably already concocting a plan in their heads to betray you and to ruin your life in one way that you will not even realize until it's too late. Okay? And they can have sneaky ways of already showing it. They can have sneaky ways of already hurting you and you would not realize it until they've already penetrated you. And the problem is, the reason is because they're close to you. So you believe them and you've opened yourself up to them, and you would never, even if somebody came to tell you that, oh, those friends are, they're bad friends, and you would not want to believe them because you'd want them to show you, like you'd be like, if they haven't shown you the bad habits, if they haven't done anything wrong to you, then why should you believe that they're bad friends? But they're already doing something wrong to you, you just don't realize it. So we have to be more careful with friends.